Coming up next on Jersey Matters, we are at the New Jersey League of Municipalities, where vendors who sell things like garbage trucks come to sell their wares to New Jersey's towns and cities. It's also where the state's top politicians come to schmooze. We'll be talking to Wisniewski, Sweeney, Prieto, and Bramnick about the governor's race, about the future of New Jersey, and the future of Chris Christie. Those interviews and much more coming up next, because Jersey Matters. Welcome to Jersey Matters. I'm Larry Menti. We come to you from the New Jersey State League of Municipalities convention. All of the movers and shakers in New Jersey are here, including this man, John Wisniewski, an assemblyman from Middlesex, and now a gubernatorial candidate. You're down here, I'm sure, to shake hands and to fundraise and to garner some support. How's it been going?
It's been going fantastic. The response to my announcement has been overwhelming. People understand that New Jersey needs a voice that's going to stand up for the middle class, not the special interests. My campaign is about the middle class and making sure that every voice in New Jersey has an opportunity to be heard in a primary process that some want to preordain 6 months before the first votes are cast.
Wow, you're sounding a lot like Bernie Sanders. Isn't that the same argument that he made against Hillary Clinton and the establishment?
Wherever the argument happens, it's wrong. Voters ought to have an opportunity to decide who their leaders are, not party elites.
Well, speaking of party elites, I've been interviewing a whole lot of them. Senate President Sweeney, Vincent Prieto, they are all saying we're with Phil Murphy. Is it too late?
No, it's not too late. The primary process has barely just begun. We just finished a presidential election. While many of us were trying to get Hillary Clinton elected, there were people who were worried about who was going to be governor in 2017. Now that the presidential election's over, it's time to focus on 2017.
People know you first and foremost as the guy that went after Chris Christie, who led the investigation in the legislature for Chris Christie. Don't you need more than that?
The leadership we've had that has failed us. So we've seen the Wall Street values that has failed us. We understand that we need a different kind of leader in New Jersey, one that's transformational, not transactional. The transactional politics of New Jersey is what's gotten us into the problems we are in now.
The reason I asked, don't you need more than that, is because you had a press conference saying you still want to go after him, and you had a press conference saying that even if he leaves office, you'd like to investigate him. Is that done now, or do you still going to continue with that?
If we think the truth doesn't matter, if we think lying to the legislature is okay, then maybe we shouldn't pursue it. But the fact of the matter is that we've had people come before the legislative committee who clearly told one story to us and a different story to the federal courtroom. If the legislative process that we have, where the legislature can investigate issues, is to have any consequence in the future, allowing people to come before the legislature, willfully lie and get away with it, means that the legislature could never again be held as a credible investigative body.
Let's talk about the state being downgraded once again on its credit rating, and them pointing specifically at the pension fund.
Sure.
Are you for a constitutional amendment? I know it can't come up for another couple of years, but how else would you guarantee payments to the pension fund?
Well, the first thing we ought to do is not give away money we don't have. I mean, I voted against the Transportation Trust Fund program a few months ago because it gave away $12 billion as the price of raising the gas tax. $12 billion that could have gone to fund our pension system, $12 billion that could have gone to fund our educational system, which has been chronically underfunded. That bill shortchanged New Jersey for years to come, and so if we want to understand why is New Jersey unable to pay its bills, it's unable to pay its bills because we engage in that kind of reckless fiscal gimmickry that shortchanges future generations. We do need a guarantee that the state of New Jersey is going to live up to its obligations on our pension and other obligations, and the way to do that is with a constitutional amendment. Unfortunately, that didn't get voted on. We didn't have an opportunity because the Senate did not post that bill in time for it to get on the ballot. So we're going to have to work hard to make sure that happens in the future.
Speaking of reckless fiscal gimmickry, we're in Atlantic City right now, which was on the verge of going bankrupt, is now taken over by the state. Do you agree with that decision, and what would happen if you were governor?
Well, the state of New Jersey has never shown itself a better steward of either school districts or municipalities, and so why this would be any different than the past experience we have, I don't know. I'm not in favor of the state takeover Atlantic City. I believe that the local elected leadership ought to have a very loud voice in how this happens, but we ought to give them the tools that they currently don't have. We need to make sure that they have the kind of regulatory relief that's going to enable them to make the reforms necessary. Having the state step in and take over a municipality, as we've seen with a number of school districts, makes no difference. It results in additional waste, and the problem doesn't get solved.
One last question, sir, and that is to do with the school funding formula. Speaker Prieto, President Sweeney seem to be butting heads. They both want a commission, but Prieto is now coming out and saying, yes, but we still want final say no matter what the commission says. Where do you stand?
We have a school funding reform act that has never been fully funded. In all the years since the legislature adopted this, we've never fully funded it. What I'd like to see first is let's fully fund the law we currently have. Let's experience a year or two under full funding and see exactly what a difference that makes. I mean, we seem to be tinkering around at the edges, talking about different formulas when we've never actually funded the one we have.
Was I the first person to call you Bernie Sanders?
No.
Oh, no, good. Thank you, sir. I appreciate you taking the time.
My pleasure. Good to be with you.
Gubernatorial candidate John Wisniewski. And people get to call you that now. We're coming right back with Senate President Steve Sweeney.